What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 27 of the show. I'm Jennie O'Connor, and I write and create courses about mastering your mindset so you can stop settling for less, start asking for more, and finally do the thing that scares you. Like when you stop shoulding on yourself. I should do this. So-and-so said I should probably follow that path. Nah, it's not for you. Now you're just gonna follow your heart. These are the kinds of things that we talk about on this show. If you are already subscribed, I love you to the moon and back. And if you are just tuning in for the first time, do be sure to hit subscribe, because next week we are talking to a multi-passionate gal who lives in a tiny house on wheels with her husband. That's not all there is to her, though. She's done it all, from writing a book to learning Kung Fu. It's gonna be a really, really cool interview, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out. Today, though, we are talking to a bundle of excitement and happy energy. Raymond Riopel, you guys, is so much fun. He is an international best-selling author, an app designer, an entrepreneur, and a trainer. And despite coming from humble beginnings, he achieved financial independence, basically retired by the age of 32 after being $150,000 in debt, which is a pretty incredible feat. And he spent the past 18 years plus traveling around the world, inspiring others to tap into their greatness using what he calls his success clues. So let's see if I can get him to reveal the secret sauce on some of those clues in today's interview. Hey, Robert, how you doing today?
I'm feeling blessed.
I'm so excited to have you on today. So we're just going to dive right on in, if that's all right with you.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So in reading a little bit about you, it sounds like as a child, you wanted to do all of the things. Was that encouraged by your family?
Well, yes and no. See, my parents were always saying, Robert, you can do whatever you put your mind to. But what they were modeling is, because there was not a lot of work, we were constantly moving. I never spent more than 6 months, maybe a year in any one school, because we were moving from town to town, place to place, just so my parents could keep working. And they were doing jobs they hated, but it supported the family. So on the one side is, yeah, you can do whatever you want. But on the other side, it was, but this is what you do to take care of family, even if you don't like it. So I got that, two sides always hitting me. And it made things kind of crazy for me as I grew up, because it wasn't until I was in grade 5, we actually moved somewhere where we stayed for more than a year. And it was like, then I realized, because it was normal for me up until that point, it's like, oh yeah, okay, we're moving again, let's go. And no wonder today I don't like to move a lot.
Yeah, I can absolutely. That makes so much sense. My goodness. Well, okay. So they wanted you to believe you could be anything, but they weren't really walking the walk necessarily.
They were doing the best they could. Absolutely.
Sure. So as you got older, some limiting beliefs started creeping in, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, because it was, I didn't realize we were living in the wrong side of the tracks part of town. I now live back where I spent most of my childhood, and the area I was living in, the subdivision, is still now finally getting a better name, but it was the wrong side of the tracks. But I knew no different. But then society was like, yeah, you don't have the right education. This is going to cost money. I don't think you'll ever be able to afford to do that. So give up that dream. And that's what society does for a lot of people. Or look at some cultures. Some cultures, it's like, when you grow up, you're going to be this and this. You have no choice. And so I can relate to that, being able to now, blessed to travel around the world. I've really got to experience how different cultures impact different things. And I do relate it to my upbringing. And I look back, because I actually was a very in-the-box thinker, believe it or not. And where I am today, I was corrupted to get to where I am today. And that's, it's a funny joke, because I'm very blessed that my wife and we met when we were 13. We started dating when we were 16. We got married when we were 19. And we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Don't do the math of how old I am. And we say that I was innocent until I met my wife, because I was in the box. It was like, don't question the box. Don't think outside the box. If you do this job because it's giving you stability and it's taking care of your family, then even if you don't like it, you do it. So today, if it was left up to me, I would be miserable but comfortable in a job. if that makes sense.
Sure.
And it's because my wife is like, why are we looking at this box thing? Why don't you do it this way? Well, that's not the way it's done. Well, why not? Well, I don't know, but that's just not the way it's done. This is the way I'm told it's done. And she looks at things and goes, let's push the boundaries and figure it out, because there's got to be other ways. And because of that, we're actually where we are today. Because one of the greatest gifts, and you talk about, I can scroll like crazy. I can be all over the place. But if I'm playing smaller than I am, she holds me to a higher standard. And it's like, dude, time to step up your game. And it's a gift I give her as well. So, the journey's been a fun journey all the way through, for sure.
That's amazing. Is she also an everything enthusiast?
She is a Virgo, which will
Okay.
probably describe. She likes it organized. She likes things in place. But yes, she is an everything person, because it's, well, look at research today. Today, instead of it being 40 years in a career, which it was a few decades ago, it hasn't been for a while. Research actually shows that the average person today will have 5 to 7 completely different careers now in their lifetime. Completely different. So it's adapt or die, basically miserable, because if you don't adapt and you're not willing to be that everything's person, this is why it's so important. I love learning, because the moment I think I know it all, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that allows me to see other things and reinvent is because I keep learning, which makes me and her naturally everything people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think that statistic is sort of comforting for my audience, because of the fact that, you were talking about the conditioning and the stories that culture tells you. And I think for a lot of us, we were told that you find your thing and you stick to your thing for forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you really want to be a success and you want to make that 6-figure, 7-figure income, that's the way you do it. So it really is a relief, I think, to know that it's becoming more and more normalized to have 5 completely different careers in your lifetime. So I like that.
You can be good at them too. It's not like I'm changing careers because I suck at it. No, it's like I was a Domino's Pizza franchisee for 9 years. And my wife and I did okay, but we quit enjoying it. So why would we keep doing something? I'm a big believer. If I don't enjoy doing what I'm doing something else.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yes.
And I knew I wasn't enjoying my Domino's Pizza when all of a sudden, our store's doing okay, but I went and started applying for jobs because I wanted to quit being the boss for a while. I just wanted to go mindless, show up at a job, do my 8 hours and walk away. And everybody kept turning me down, going, oh, we'd love to hire you, but you're too qualified. And because you're running a business, if something goes wrong, we can't rely on you.
Yeah.
And I took it personally, and it hurt. But, that was my first clue that maybe I'm not enjoying Domino's Pizza anymore. Maybe it's time to look for something else. And it takes courage. I will tell you, for your listeners, understand it's natural to go from thing to thing, but it also takes courage to believe in yourself, to be willing to do it. Don't think it's always going to be easy, but if you have that belief. When I love to meet people, and when I meet them, one of the first things I'll get into the conversation, I'll ask them, what do you do for a living? And when they tell me, then my follow-up question is, do you enjoy it? And it's amazing how many people say no, especially when I'm on a plane and I'm sitting beside someone for a few hours. So then my third question is, if you don't enjoy it, why are you doing it? And the 2 most common answers I get are either because I'm good at it or I make a lot of money. And here's what I say to them, and it kind of shocks them. I go, wrong answer.
I hope you do it with that volume too.
I do. It kind of gets noticed on the plane. They're like, what's going on?
It's like,
and I'm like, the way I look at it is, if you're spending most of your time 8 hours a day, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, and you're not doing what you love, are you really living? If you're waking up miserable and all of a sudden the rest of your day, you're like, oh. I love to wake up in the morning going, even if I'm sore, even if I'm tired, even if I've had a long day before, I wake up and I'm like, yeah. I just took Gracie May out. And while we were doing that, my wife is actually, because we just had a concrete pad poured in the back because we built a training center. Look, I went from traveling 200,000 miles a year around the world, training all over the world, to all of a sudden 0 because of COVID. And I could have sat there and went, woe is me, this is wrong. Why is this happening? And my wife and I played the victim for a couple of weeks. We did. But then two very powerful words, and I want your audience to listen to this because this is so perfect for everything people. Two words that have changed their lives. What's next? What's
Yeah.
next? And my wife's, when we finally kind of came out of that feeling sorry for ourselves, and because also all my live events from around the world are canceled, hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue gone. And so then it's like, okay, what's next? And we're like, well, we bought this beautiful acreage 3 years ago with the intent of eventually building our training center. Now, it was supposed to be 5, 6 years down the road. But as soon as we said, what's next? It was like, well, we've wanted to go digital. I've wanted to fly less and have my students come see me. I'm home now. Why don't we build the training center now? And so in December, we broke ground, and we're about a week away from me getting to move into my brand new 1,500 square foot training center office that's set up for audio, video, live streaming, everything like that. And
So cool.
because I got my studio, my wife gets her 900 square foot she shack with all of her toys in it because of the
Perfect.
yeah. And so for your audience, what's next? Don't be afraid to ask that question, and then have the courage to have a journey. And if
Yeah.
you stumble, you stumble. Oh well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I so like there's so much talk of law of attraction, in coaching circles and things like that. And I think that piece that's missing sometimes is the action piece. The what is next? What is this step that I can take today that's going to
Yeah.
move the needle forward? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a valuable piece of information. Definitely. So, in line with this kind of like working, you clearly work around like conquering limiting beliefs. That's sort of what your entire story is based around. This notion of that if you've tried something before and failed, that you can't move forward and achieve your dreams. How did you overcome that and then reframe it as a teaching point?
A lot of work on myself. Again, back to learning. I didn't believe in personal development. I remember when my brother-in-law, and again, I'm going to date myself, he says, look, I just got my cassette tapes from this guy named Tony Robbins. You should listen to these. I'm like, listening to that. I don't need that stuff. I'm a Domino's Pizza franchisee. What does he know that I don't?
Right.
But then out of necessity of being over $150,000 in debt, because we weren't enjoying our Domino's Pizza and spending habits put us in debt, we ended up getting introduced to a 3-day weekend, and that changed our life. And all of a sudden, when we learned what little bit of, because we went from learning why we were in debt, our spending habits, taking ownership of it. Hello, what a concept. It's not blaming other people that we lost money. It's blaming ourselves and taking ownership. But then taking the action steps, going back to what you said, the action. My wife and I ended up going from $150,000 in debt to actually being completely retired, financially free 9 months later when we were 32. And our minds went, that worked. If this much information gave us that result, what would more learning do? And the more we dove into learning about ourselves, the more the world opened. The more it was all of a sudden, now it's like, wow, there's a limiting belief. How's that been helping me in my life? Not at all. Let's get rid of it. And so the more work I do on myself, and I went from being this stuff is too woo-woo to all of a sudden, here I am sitting in dyads for a whole weekend, 11 times a day, 45 minutes at a time, looking at someone across from me going, tell me who you are. And then they would go through a process. They need to look at me, tell me who you are. And deep dive, like in 3 days, what a monk would sit in a cave for 40 years to get for enlightenment, I was able to do in 3 days. And the more I experienced it, I'm like, this really works. And the more I work on me, now the more I'm able to help others. Because it's not just, oh, I think this will work. Let me teach you why it should work. I only teach what I've experienced myself. And so I want to keep experiencing. I want to just keep moving. And that's a beautiful thing because it opens up all the new possibilities. See, and again, to your audience, when you learn, all of a sudden, as your mind opens up, you'll attract people into your life that it'll be, well, have you ever thought of going this way? I see that you're doing good at this, but maybe another next step level would be to do this. And because you met that person, you're now able to hone your skill or go, yeah, that was okay, but this is phenomenal. And you feel, because my passion, and you notice I get excited about all this. My passion and my mission statement in life is to guide and assist individuals in not only identifying, but living their purpose with passion. Because I believe the more people I can help find their passion and live it, the better our world's going to be.
100%.
And it may take a journey of going through a few things. Well, Robert, I'm not making money with my passion yet. Okay, well, do this on a temporary basis to earn the income to pay for, taking care of your family, but make sure you're still going towards your passion. And maybe you go from this to this until this replaces your income. And because my ultimate goal is, if I can show you how to do what you absolutely love and make money at the same time, now you wake up every morning going, oh, right?
Absolutely. Living the dream. I think that's fantastic. How did you get past, like in the very beginning, thinking it was too woo? What made you open your mind to it?
Surround myself with amazing people.
Okay.
And I've recently made a change, because I used to say, surround yourself with like-minded people. And you hear that all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then just last year, a mentor of mine put it into a whole new paradigm shift. He said, think of it like this. Let's say you and I, we decide we want to go to the mall. So we walk down to the bus stop. And in that moment, there's 3 other people waiting for the bus. Well, at that moment, 5 of us are all of like mind. We're all waiting for the bus and the bus to take us to the mall. And guess where we're going to go? Only to the mall. That's it. And so if you're with like-minded people that are complainers, you're going to be a complainer yourself. Yeah, it's just going to happen. So he said, what you want to do is you want to be surrounding yourself with growth-minded people. Because what a growth-minded person is, they're the ones that are going to pick you up when you fall down. They're going to cheer you on when you're doing great. But they're mainly going to be willing to have the tough conversations and even kick you in the ass when you're playing small or being an idiot. And so because we're our own worst enemies. Like, hello, if I tell people, raise your hand if you're on your worst enemy, I've got both hands and both feet up in the air.
Definitely right here.
Right? So by having those growth-minded people around me, all of a sudden reminding me, be open to learning new things. And all of a sudden, when I'm now doing things like that, or my wife and I go through an amazing 3-day program together where we learn about the masculine and the feminine and everybody and how to have the dance. We were married for 13 years at that point. We had a good marriage, but it took it to a whole deeper level. And I'm just, my mind keeps getting blown open, and I'm going, okay, I need more of this. And so it was a transition of just taking that first step of openness, trying something new. And there's things that I learn and I'm like, nope, not for me. And that's okay.
Sure.
Because it's about trusting. I trust myself now to the level of knowing if I set a boundary, it's my choice if I let the boundary be pushed or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame other people, because other people are going to try and push a boundary. But it's my responsibility to hold it to where I want to be. And so I now trust myself to that level. But even when I slip, and I do, look, please understand, whether you're listening or watching this. If you're watching it, I'm no different. I just have less hair than most people. Okay. I'm aerodynamic. But I'm no different in my mindset. And I still have the crap that goes on. And there's times, like one of my crippling ones is self-doubt. That comes into my life quite a bit. And thank God I have my wife to go, I'll give you an example. Would you like an example of this? Actually?
Please, yeah.
I ended up living my passion so much when I became a trainer. First 4.5 years, I did over 200 multi-day trainings around North America. And then we started opening into Asia. And I was at home on average only 2 days a month. I was living my passion, but I was overliving it. And I got so burnt out, I had to take a year off. Well, because I wasn't taking care of myself, I also went through 2 back surgeries during that time. And it ended up being 3.5 years. And I'm getting ready to come out of retirement. And all of a sudden my wife notices something's bothering me. And she looks at me, she goes, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing. And she goes, Bull, what's going on? And I've, she won't let go until I, come clean. And I've learned in 32 years that the most important words in a relationship, yes, dear. That's that. All the people in relationships learn them.
It's a good lesson.
I finally looked at her and I said, what if I don't have it anymore? And she's like, pardon me? I said, well, it's been over 3 years since I've trained. What if I don't have it anymore? And she goes, are you done with that shit? And I'm like, look, this is serious. What if I don't have it anymore? She says, the moment you step on stage, it's going to be like you hadn't stepped off. So are you done with that crap? Let it go. Brings me to Elsa. Let it go. Let it go. That's the only part of the song that I know.
Me neither. I don't know any of it either.
But what a great mantra.
That is wonderful. Yeah.
And so because I was my own worst enemy, she helped get me through it. And of course she was right. The moment I stepped on stage, it was like, why did I doubt myself? But that's what our mind does.
Yeah.
And so surround yourself with amazing growth-minded people so that you can then be there to support each other, cheer each other on, kick each other in the butt when needed be. And that's where, some of our best friends are the people that are willing to tell me the way it is, not just what I
Mhm.
want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think like having a cheerleader in your corner for the days when you're going through it in terms of the self-doubt is critical. That is just such
Yeah.
an important thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so another thing that you talk about and coach about that I think plagues a lot of everything enthusiasts is overwhelm. We have way too many interests to know where to start. If we are able to pick something, we don't know what step one is, and then we're always concerned about all the other things that we've had to leave behind. How do you personally deal with overwhelm?
Yeah, and that's something I teach all over the world, and I'm so glad you're asking this because whether you're on one thing or you're an everything enthusiast, here's why overwhelm that I've learned and experienced happens. So here's your goal or your dream of what you want to accomplish. And instead of being present where you are, your mind automatically jumps 1,000 feet ahead of yourself, trying to figure everything out. How's it going to work? What should I do? How will it look? What time frame? And all of a sudden you get overwhelmed because you're playing a million and one what if scenarios in your head. And so no wonder you get chronically tired and wiped out. And something you said, but if I do this, what about all my other interests? Are they going to pay the price? And so now you start feeling that crushingness of that overwhelm. And so the first thing I'm going to suggest for everybody to do, and we'll do it right now, is take a deep breath in and just let it out and come back to the present moment. I talk about something called the four currencies, and the fourth currency is the currency of experience. And so many people are so far in the future, or they're anchored in the past of it didn't work before, why will it work again? This happened to me, and they forget to be present. Good, bad, or ugly, if you get in the habit of being present more often in your day and you experience the moment, no matter whether you're scrolling or you're focused, having the experience of that moment is going to allow you to let go of a lot of the overwhelm. And so when you take that deep breath and you come back to present, you ask yourself, okay, what is one step, one thing I can do right now in this moment to move me towards that direction? Don't worry about anything else, but what's one step? And then when you take that step, you acknowledge yourself. You celebrate that you took the step. Because your mind's going to go, yeah, but what? No, stop. Yes, I did this step. Happy dance, whatever it is. Or it could just be something like patting yourself on the back, right? Mentally or physically patting yourself on the back. So you bring it back to that one step because there's a beautiful quote I love that says, one step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years thinking about it. And
Mm.
most people, they get so caught up in overthinking. That's why they get paralyzed. That's why they get overwhelmed. That's why they don't start. And then what do? They start beating the crap out of themselves. I know you probably know no one who's ever beat themselves up over
No,
decisions, right? No.
no, certainly not me.
Right? If we had how's that thing go? If we had a friend that treated us the way we treat ourselves,
Oh,
they wouldn't be our friend for very long.
oh,
But we
yes.
take it from ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, especially, and again, for your audience, please hear, and this is coming from years of experience. Right now, you're looking at, since the Olympics are on, I'm going to use that terminology. I'm a gold medalist people pleaser. I've won so many gold medals as a people pleaser. Oh my goodness. So this comes from a person who grew up trying to please everybody and afraid to make the wrong decisions. And what if I do this wrong, or what if I say the wrong thing? And especially when you get into overwhelm, is being gentle with yourself, number one, but two, give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's the other part of overwhelm. Everybody, I just learned, I just listened to Robert and I picked up some nuggets of gold and I'm going to do this. And then the mind goes, but you better be perfect at it.
Mhm.
Oh, see, that's what he was talking about. You failed. Go back 3 steps. And our mind will grab onto that. And so when you look at it, and it's one of my mentors, my favorite quote of his, Every master was once a disaster.
Yeah.
And see, people aren't willing to go through the disaster stage. Well, Robert, I don't stick with something long enough to become a master at it. But if while you're in it and you're present, you're working on it, then you're mastering instead of, and then now when you move on to something else, stick with it until you feel that, you're ready for something else. But if you're present more, watch what's possible, watch what you can accomplish and who you can become. And the beautiful side effect, the moment I quit trying to be a people pleaser, because my belief, and it's just my belief, the greatest gift anybody can give this planet is to be them, be themselves. Because
Yeah.
one of two things is going to happen. Either people are going to like you or people are not going to like you. And if people like you for who you are, people who don't like you for who you are,
Yeah.
because now you don't have to waste all your energy on them.
They're
You
not
can
your
now be
people.
you. Right. And if someone only likes you for who they want you to be, they're trying to change you. But think about this. Okay, I'm an everything entrepreneur. I like to go in a million directions. That's who I am. Great. Own it. Don't apologize for it. Own it.
Yeah.
And then you'll be amazed at how many other everything people you naturally attract in your life. And you'll be going, I never would have guessed. Really? You? And also collaborate. It's magical. It's fun. So
Yeah.
be you and show up for yourself and watch how that will impact a lot around you.
Yeah. I love that. And to your point about, well, never mind. I just completely lost my train of thought. Um, speaking of overwhelm, there's so much good stuff in there. I don't know where to begin. So, okay, we're going to change gears really quickly because I want to talk about the 4 phases of life, because
Yes.
that's another one of your sort of teaching concepts that you've created, correct?
Yeah, and it's actually from my book that I'm writing right now.
Oh,
And
good.
you and I were discussing about this, that I'm actually writing my book as you and I are talking. I'm
Yes.
multitasking.
Yay.
How cool is that?
Well, and
Because
so
no one
that
ever
sort
does
of
that.
feels like it's a little bit related to the topic of overwhelm, because it's teaching people to embrace rather than resist when life throws chaos their way, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
And
so elaborate on that for me.
yeah, because I'm such a simple person, I love acronyms and it keeps it easy.
Yeah.
And so I use the acronym of OPEN. And now I want to give credit where credit's due. This is not, the initial research wasn't mine. I've enhanced it to where it is today. But a really good friend of mine, I nicknamed him the quantum monk, because he was actually a monk for 8 years, did over 15,000 hours of meditation, and he studies quantum physics. So he can tell you all about spirituality and back it up with the science behind it. And he came across this research, and it's like so powerful, but it wasn't his passion to teach. So I said, Greg, I know you don't want to teach it. May I teach it? And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, the world needs this. So we've spent hours on Zoom calls where I've making sure I understand it. And as I developed it into my own words, all of a sudden, they say the student becomes the master. And all of a sudden he's like, wow, Robert, where you've taken this to, I'd never dreamed it would go there. And so I use the acronym OPEN. And the O is the first phase. It's called the observation phase. Now, in the observation phase, and this is where, for your everything enthusiasts, they're in this a lot, because now it's about not being a human being or being a human doing. It's actually about being a human creating. What would I love in my life? This is the time, like meditation, creating vision boards. I'm a huge believer in vision boards. And so not worry about how we're going to do it. Remember, don't go 1,000 steps ahead of yourself. But what would I love? And then get it on your vision board. So in this space, it's just what is possible, dreaming, creating, and not worrying about the how. Just what would I love in my life? What new direction would I like to go today? Right? Because then the second phase, the P stands for the pamper phase. Now, what's interesting about the pamper phase, if any of your audience have ever wondered why they seem like, even when things are going well, they self-sabotage, is because they forget this phase or they don't pay attention to it. See, there's that saying that says you cannot give what you do not have. If you don't take care of you, how do you think you can actually take care of other people? So in the pamper phase, it's about planning or going on a vacation. Maybe it's getting a massage. If you like to read, you read a book. I'll take 20 minutes and I'll use the app on my phone called Calm, Calm. And because I love the sound of rain, I'll listen to rain for 20 minutes. Just close my eyes, put my earbuds in, listen to rain because it quiets my mind and allows me to just get more present again. So it's how do you take care of you? In money, they're always saying wealth rule number one, pay yourself first. So why wouldn't you do that with your time? See,
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of me when I have time left.
Yeah.
Notice you never have time left because you're always overwhelmed. And this is actually this is the phase when you're in the pamper phase. Give yourself permission to be selfish because it is about you. And I learned this, I referred to it earlier. When I was overliving my passion, I was giving so much from stage because I was doing 3 to 5 day trainings on stage for up to 12 hours a day. I was giving so much, I forgot to take care of me. And you talk about why do I now believe the woo woo? I was in California, and one of my students, a mother and son team, they had opened a shop called the Aura Shop, and they had stones and all this in there. And I was still kind of a non-believer, but my wife loves stones. She practices Reiki. She says, we're going to look at their shop. And I'm like, if we have to. And I was in a really rough time of my life because I was feeling burnt out. I was feeling just yucky, right? And we walked into the shop, and one of the first things they said is, hey, Robert, we have this program on a computer where it'll actually photograph your aura. And I'm like, my
Yeah.
what? My what? And they're like, your aura. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that. I said, just please play along with us. Stand in front of the camera. Let us show you what this can do. Fine. So I stand there and they take the picture, and all the colors are all out of whack. And they're explaining them. And then they start telling me things that's going on in my life that they shouldn't have known. And I'm just like, how did you know that?
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, your heart chakra is way out of whack. So you're obviously doing something that you're out of alignment with, and you're struggling with the decisions. And I'm just like, so you talk about instant believer, right? And
Yeah.
so then I'm getting emotional. I'm like, okay, but I've been struggling with this. What do I do? And they said, well, come to the back. We have a light table that will balance your aura out. And so lay on it for 20 minutes. And then they had all these beautiful sound tubes hanging around it. And while I'm laying there and this light bed is just doing what it does, the guy is just tapping lightly on these bars and the resonance of vibration and sound. I got up off that bed and I felt like a whole new person, whole
Wow.
new person. We retook the picture, and all of a sudden the vibrant colors in place. And in that instant, my life went from feeling crappy to like, I needed that.
Mm.
And I'd been giving so much, I forgot to take care of me. That's why I went through 2 back surgeries. I wasn't standing on the stage properly. So in the pamper phase, I embrace it so much because even if, and you talk about paying yourself first, I live by the calendar on my phone.
Mm.
And the very first thing my wife and I put on our calendar each month or quarter, is our balance pieces. Time for each other, time for family, time for health, time for ourselves. Those go on first before anything else. And you got to get creative too, because maybe you don't always have a lot of time to take care. I'm busy, I got a family, I got a business. It doesn't take a lot of time. 5 minutes for yourself. Regenerate, rejuvenate. And so one of the selfish little secrets I have, people are going, Robert, why, you travel all over the world, BC, before COVID, of course.
Sure.
I was flying on average 200,000 miles a year around the world. And they're
Wow.
like, why are you willing to be on a plane for 12, 13, 14, 16 hours? And I'm like, well, one, I love the cultures and the people I meet. But two, it's selfish. Because the moment I sit in my seat on that plane, that's my time.
That's you time. I
Yeah.
totally understand.
No business, no Wi-Fi. I read because I love to read. I watch movies because I love to watch movies. I sleep. I eat some good food. I drink some great wine.
Love it.
Because I know as soon as I land for the next 3 to 5 days, I'm on stage for up to 12 hours a day, giving, giving, giving.
Sure.
So this is how I take my
You
time.
fill the well back up. Yep.
That's
I
exactly
love
right.
it. I love it. Okay.
So-
So we've got observation. We've got pampering. What's next?
Yes. The E is the energy phase. This is the time to be the human doing, get stuff done. And this is why pamper is so important, because when you're in the energy phase, people are really, really busy. And you've probably met some people that are so busy, right? I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference I've noticed. People are good at being busy, but not necessarily productive. And
Definitely.
there's a big difference. So the second thing I put on my calendar for my energy phases is called focus time.
Sure.
So, and especially an everything enthusiast, it
Yeah.
takes them, research has shown you can't stay focused on one thing for more than an hour. And so what I'll do is I'll sit there and when it's time to write my book, I'll put, okay, 10 to 11, I'm writing my book. And in that hour, I don't do anything else. And in that hour of productivity, it's like 6 hours of being busy where I'm checking social media, looking at emails, doing texts. So I put in my little pockets of focus time as the second thing on my calendar. And now the rest of the whole calendar, I can do whatever I want. And I don't feel stressed or overwhelmed. See,
Yeah.
because I've taken care of the important things first, me time and bonus pieces, and then focus time to get the stuff done. So now, I now have the rest of my schedule to say, what do we want to do? Well, let's go camping this weekend. Great, let's go camping, and not
Love
feel
it.
guilty about
Yeah.
it. Right. So that's the
Yeah.
energy phase. Also, if you're doing your pamper properly, some of my energy phase days, I'll do an 18-hour day, and I may be tired, but I'm not wasted or burnt out. Big
Sure.
difference. Okay.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then the N, the final phase, is I call it, I had to get creative with this. I'll let you know, because N is not the first letter of the word, it's the second letter. It's
Okay.
called the unclutter phase, the
Okay.
unclutter.
All right.
Another name for that is chaos, because this is where we talked about embracing it versus resisting it. And what I want everybody to understand is this: chaos is actually natural. As human beings, and the reason in our instant society today you've got more everything enthusiasts than not is because one of the primary roles of a human being is to evolve. And it's that what's next, right? And so what happens is people get stuck. And so all of a sudden chaos will come in and go, no, 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 come on, you got to evolve. And if you don't, what happens? You get the lesson again a little hard. If you don't,
Mm,
all of a sudden comes full force and you're going,
sure.
what just happened, right? Why is chaos entering my life? So in this phase, you courageously destroy something in this phase. Now, you're everything enthusiast, listen closely because this is going to take a lot of overwhelm off of your plate. You have to be willing to let go of something good to get something great. Be willing to let go of something great to get something phenomenal. So if all of a sudden things are going, even if they're going well, and all of a sudden chaos comes in, then ask yourself, what is it that's not working in my life right now that if I was willing to courageously let it go, destroy it, I can move on to the next phase. And in this phase, it might be where you let go of a relationship that's not been working. This phase, you let go of a belief that has not been supporting you, right?
Yeah.
And so you can actually courageously volunteer for chaos so it doesn't hit you upside the head like a 2x4. And that's why I call it the unclutter phase, is because if you courageously in your day-to-day life ask yourself, where can I unclutter? Where can I courageously volunteer to destroy something? So as an example, have you ever gone to your refrigerator, opened it up, and you're like, "Ooh, maybe I better clean something out of there. I think it's been in there a little old," right? So
Yes.
unclutter your refrigerator. You're showing the universe that you're willing to clean things up, unclutter. I will come down to my office every couple of weeks and I'll volunteer to unclutter it and throw away things I don't need anymore or donate it or whatever it is, right? So because I'm always volunteering to unclutter and I embrace the chaos, that chaos is natural because when you go through chaos, it opens you back up into the observation phase. And again, for your listeners, it's not about that I want to do so many things and that's bad. It's like, wow, what is next? And
Mm,
so my friend Greg, what he says, and I love it, he says, instead of living life, courageously allow life to live you.
mm,
Now think about
yeah.
that for an everything enthusiast,
Yeah.
because now they go, so it's not just me. Life is wanting me to test all these things out because it's part of who I am. And when you understand that and you're courageously willing to allow life to live you, then it becomes okay to be you even more. Give yourself that
Yeah.
permission. So,
Yeah. Wow. It's so good. So do you, in the uncluttering phase, are you looking for like sticking points? Are you trying to find where something isn't working and that's the thing that you
yeah,
remove? Okay.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
and so the way you do that on a day-to-day basis is anytime I do something myself or with a team, then I either debrief with myself, and yes, I do talk to myself. It's okay. It's
Mhm.
only when I
Me
start
too.
arguing with myself, we get worried.
Yeah, when it
You
becomes
know,
a dialogue, it gets a little weird, but
or when you're posting on Facebook and you want, one part of me says this, the other part says this. Let's do a poll. Who agrees with which one, right? And so we ask, I'll ask myself or with the team, I'll say, okay, what worked in what we just did? And we just make a list. No emotion, no, anger, just what worked. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, what did not work? Boom, 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 boom. What can we do different? And then from what didn't work, we come up with a new strategy and we go again, or we change direction. So it's not beating yourself up anymore and going, well, okay, this is wrong in my life, so I've got to destroy it. It's like, okay, what worked? What didn't work? Okay, what can we do different? Well, if
Mhm.
we're going to do this different, that means this belief isn't working for us. Okay, gone. And
Yep.
so, yeah, and that's how you volunteer for chaos, by asking those three questions over and over and over again. And that will make it, you'll get chaos in your life, and you can't control. Sometimes it'll be big, but for the most part, it won't hit you as hard as it used to, because you're now flowing with life instead of resisting life.
Yeah, definitely. And that makes such a difference when you finally get to that state of flow. Like it feels like the next step just reveals itself to you. Whereas before
Yes.
you were like, what do I do now? So
Yes.
I'm a wholehearted believer in what it is that you're saying. And so it kind of sounds like if you're opening yourself up to letting life live through you, you're almost embracing the act of creation. Letting life live you is sort of like being a creative force in the world. So you actually
Yeah.
say that creativity is the true way to make money. And
Yeah.
I want to know what you mean by that, because I think creativity is so important. Like Julia Cameron says that to refuse to create goes against our true nature. So how is it the secret to making money? Tell me about that.
Well, because when you're in your true self and you're living your passion, doing what you love, that's where you're now in the most creative alignment. Whether you go by God, higher power, whatever it is. So for me, when I quiet my mind, I can be on stage, and I'll use the example this way. I can be on stage, and I can have 1,000 people in front of me, and I'll put the audience through a powerful process, and then someone will be sharing, and all of a sudden something will hit me that just and I used to, because I was a people pleaser, I would try to I would sit there and go, oh my God, they can't handle if I say that. So I'd edit my thinking. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
So you want to say something to someone, you're like, oh, they can't. And
Yeah.
then you edit what you're going to say, and then you say it to them, and it usually pisses them off more than if you would have just said what came up, right?
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I'm in front of an audience, and it doesn't happen all the time because I don't put that pressure on me. I'm on and I'm being present with my audience. If someone says something and something comes through me because I'm so present, it's channeling or whatever you want to call it. I'll ask them first, are you open to playing? And I'll set a context around that. And I'll tell them, if you say yes, I'll tell you what just came up for me. If you say no, it ends right here. I don't say anything. And so in that moment, most people say yes because of the way we've set it up, and they're there to grow. And it's so amazing how many people, um, they're like, how did you know that? How, because I can tell them more about their life from talking to them for a minute than anybody, because it's just what I do now. And I trust in that creativity. And I'm not worried about what if I say something wrong? What if I say, I just say what comes up for me. And there's times I piss people off. Absolutely. You don't know what you're talking about. And I don't take it on. I just spoke my truth. That's creativity.
Yeah.
So when you're embracing this and you tap into your true passion, if you're doing what you truly love and what you were born and put on this planet to do, money becomes a beautiful side effect.
Yes.
You never do it for the money. See, because I've been blessed to train thousands of trainers around the world, and I've helped people make 6, 7, 8 figures in the training industry. But my number one rule for them, if I ever sense you're only doing this for the money, I will not train you anymore. See, you do it to be of service to people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're of service and you're being creative and you're being you and you're in that power, all of a sudden you'll see that money becomes that beautiful side effect that just comes. And you'll be like, where the heck did that just come from? because it goes to a universal principle that says you will be paid in direct proportion to the value you give. And when you're being you and you're in that creative place of being you, that's when you're being of more value to other people around you. Because here's what I want your audience to understand. It may not even be something you say to a person, but your energy of being present, being creative, whatever that looks like, you're impacting the people around you, whether you know it or not. And one of my quotes is this: you're either going to affect people with your greatness, or you're going to infect them with your mediocrity. And my belief is so many people, one of the biggest reasons we have our issues on the planet that we do today is so many people have been conditioned to play in a mediocre way. I have to do this and stick with this. I can't think of doing that. And the moment you give yourself permission to say, you know what? My journey may look like this squiggly line for the next while, and that's okay. You'll see the creativity that comes through you. But Robert, I'm not a creative person. Right, because you've told yourself that so many times because you've heard it so much, you now believe it. Let's make some adjustments if you're open to it, and let's see how creative you actually are. Because if I talk to you for a while, I'm probably going to discover a huge amount of creativity that you just aren't acknowledging.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that life living you, that embracing your creativity makes me think of like you're representing yourself in such an enthusiastic way. And so here it comes full circle. I remembered what I forgot earlier. To your point about everything enthusiasts never feel like they're masters of anything. When you are in that flow and super enthusiastic about whatever it is that you're doing, whether or not you are a master, that's it. That is you at your best being of service. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally. And in my book, my first book, Success Left a Clue, step number 2 of the 6 steps is find a mentor or someone to model to have success. But the second part of that is to ask yourself, who can I be a mentor to? Who can I be a model? And so for your everything enthusiast, it's even if they're going, but I'm not a master at it, I'm not great at it. If you come through something or learn something and you can now help someone else, then it's your duty, your dharma to actually help other people who aren't as far along as you are.
Yes.
And let's use the example of a golfer. I love golf, but I'm terrible at it, and I have no problem admitting. I go to play to just hit the ball, and I play, army golf. It's going left, it's going right, it's going left, it's going right. It never seems to go straight down the center, right? And so maybe I take my game from 120 strokes down to 100. Now, am I going to be able to teach someone who's already doing 90 how to golf? No. But how many people would love to know how to go from 120 to 100? So I can teach them. And by teaching them, guess what's going to happen to my game? My game is going to get better.
Yeah.
And so 3 very powerful words, and it's a system. If people want to get better in anything, the 3 things are: you learn, you do, and then you teach. See, when you learn something, it ingrains in one part. But when you start doing it, you start to get it. Oh, now I understand. Okay. But then when you teach it, it takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
So be that mentor for someone else. Even if you're going, but my life is crazy right now, then teach other people how to embrace being crazy.
Yeah.
The greatest compliment you can give me is to call me crazy. I don't want to be normal. Normal is boring and normal is broke. And I don't want to be either of those.
Yeah.
So I love being crazy.
If the only thing they can say about me after I'm gone is that I wasn't boring, I will take it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think as everything enthusiasts, we're sort of, that's like naturally, that's part of the vibe, like we have so many different things going on and little things that we like know stuff about, I always say that I would be useful as fuck in a zombie apocalypse.
I love that. And look, because most everything enthusiasts are crazy, they're going, but what about the people that don't like my craziness? Well, then, let's use what you just said. Here's my advice to when people ask me. See, if people can't handle you the way you are, fuck them.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to see to get them to like me, I have to be something different. And that chips away at your own self-confidence.
Yeah. And again, I mean, those aren't your people. If you can spend your time devoted to the people who are your people, that's all your time should be invested in doing in the first place, right?
Yeah. And again, also now because we wasted, and again, I'm speaking for me, so I can only speak for me. I wasted so much time trying to get people to like me that I was drained, I was overwhelmed, I was just, it was wiping me out. But the moment I let go of that and I went, here's who I am, today I'm blown away by the people that show up in my life, where all of a sudden I'm hosting an event and I'm in Singapore, Malaysia, hosting an event. We have 3,000 people in the audience, and some of the speakers, I have 3 multi-billionaires on the stage. So I get to speak to them in the green room. And I'm sitting there having conversations, and we're just everyday people. And this one gentleman, 37 years old, multi-billionaire from China. I don't speak Chinese. He doesn't speak English. So someone's translating. We're just having a great conversation. And also now the blue, he goes, the translator says, Mr. Zhang would like to know if you'd like to go for dinner with us. I'm like, give me a moment. Sure, absolutely. And in my mind, the self-doubt comes in, first of all, like, why would he want to go to dinner with me? Because it's still something I work on, right? Mm-hmm. But because I was just being me, and so we go out to dinner to just a noodle house. He's in sweats, I'm in jeans. It's not like we're in suits and ties and a fancy 5-star restaurant. He's got an entourage of about 15 people with him. Wow. And I've got a friend who's a translator, because who's with me, and we're just having a conversation, and I'm learning about his journey, phenomenal journey. And then he starts asking me about my app that I was designing, and I started, sharing with what I want to do with. And also my friend jumped in and started translating, because they were, the translator that he was using was saying it in a different context, and I could see they were kind of getting a weird look on their face. But my friend knew what I was saying, so he retranslated, and all of a sudden the guy's face lit up and said something, and my friend turns to me, he says, Ray just said that when you're ready to bring that app to China, he wants to launch it through China for you.
Wow, what?
Now, if I'd been sitting there going, oh God, I hope this guy likes me, I hope this guy, oh, please like me. If I was that lost little puppy, I wouldn't have gone for dinner, because he would have been like, whoa, right?
Yeah,
I would have been like that
desperation,
stalker.
they can smell it, right?
That's right. But because it's just like, here I am, and I quit putting people on pedestals. So he may be a multi-billionaire, but he's just the same as me.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do when I'm on stage, within the first 10 minutes, I'll come down off the stage in my audience. I'll walk up to someone that I can see that they're a tall person, and I'll ask them, well, can you assist me? And they say, yeah. They stand up. I stand beside them, and I look at the camera so they can see me on the jumbo screens, and I go, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to notice something. I am short. And that's usually the response I get from the audience. And I thank the person, I would sit down, and then I'll say, why did I point that out to you? I said, because I'm on that stage does not mean, it makes me look taller, but I'm not. I'm short. I'm 5'6" and a half. Because at my height, that half inch is very important.
Is right? Everything, right? Yeah.
and I'll say, now, because I'm on the stage, does it make me any better than you? No. Now, is it possible I may know something you don't know? Sure. But isn't it possible every single one of you in this audience knows something I don't know? Yes. Yeah. So I'm here to teach you, but I'm going to be a student as much as a teacher, because I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be listening to you. I'm going to be learning, because I love to learn, and I'm looking forward to you being my teachers.
Yeah.
See, the moment I take away being put up on a pedestal, I can now do true transformation with them.
Sure.
Because I'm not the all-knowing guru, because believe me, I'm not. Right. I'm just me. Yeah,
I tend to shy away from the term coach and consider myself more of like a facilitator for bringing out the greatness in other people. It's already there in you.
Yes.
I just need to pull it out like this. Yep. So yeah, I can completely relate to that. You mentioned your app, and I want to talk about it because it's so fun. It's like, I wish I had invented it. So you just tell us what it is.
Well, we now have, it's called Amantora. So take the word mentor, put an A at the beginning and A at the end. Mm-hmm. Version 1, we've now taken down offline, because a lot of the software is not supported anymore. And it never was quite what I wanted it to be. Okay. But we've been coding version 2, which, knock on wood, in the next few months, we're going to bring version 2 out, which is so much more dynamic, because we're now utilizing artificial intelligence. But it's my book in an app. It's like having a mentor in your pocket, where you're going to be able to create vision boards. You're going to be able to find accountability partners. You're going to be able to have 6 major journals to write down your celebrations, your struggles. The encryption is so tight that even as the developers, we can never read what someone wrote in their journal, because to me, privacy is critical, absolutely critical. And so version 2 is just very dynamic with what we've been able to put in it. And it's a lot of fun to play with, because when you can create vision boards and you see them come alive, because you put a picture of something you want to accomplish. And then when you accomplish it, you overlay that picture back on your vision board. And all of a sudden the vision board starts floating across your completions going, you did this, remember you did that, you've now complete this. The more alive it becomes, the more you want to do the other things.
Yeah.
So it gets you
every milestone, just like it's that momentum snowball. What a cool concept. So do you have like an ETA for when that's going to be available?
Yes.
Sort of. No.
it comes down to the coding. Yeah.
Okay.
We're actually about to do. It became such a much bigger project than I ever expected. Sure. So I've decided to quit paying for it all myself, and now we're going to look at doing a capital raise and bring on some investors. Because I can't wait to get it version 2 out to the world.
Yeah, I would suggest to all of my listeners that you just follow Robert, so that when this does come out and you can gain access to it, that you do, because it's just, it's like group coaching in an app, kind of, the accountability factor. I love all of that.
Well, and one of the things that'll be in there is if, say, you're a coach and you have coaching clients, they can be on the app, and you as their coach will be able to set it up where you can see their dream boards, their action steps that they said they're going to do, so that you can look at their dashboard, and when you're having a call with them, say, hey, I noticed you're doing this, great, but you haven't done this one yet. What can we do to move it forward? And then you can will be able to take notes on each of your clients within the app, so that they can see what your sessions are doing. You can see what they're progressing and not progressing in. So, and go on the journey together.
It's so cool. I'm super excited for that whenever it comes alive. I can't wait.
Well, we'll definitely let you know.
Like I said, I could keep you on this call forever, because I like, you should see my list of questions. There's like 25 more. I can't do that. I respect your time too much, but I do want to ask you, before we get to contact info and how everybody can find you, what is one habit that you would say has most significantly contributed to your success?
The way I start my morning. Two things I do. When I first start waking up and I'm aware that I'm starting to become conscious, I start noticing my first thoughts. And if it's negative or not supportive in any way, I grab it, I get rid of it, and I replace it with a supportive thought. So I'm now in the habit of doing that, so that I wake up with positivity in my life. And then I take out my success journal. And it started off where I'd write down 5 successes from the previous day, but it's morphed now where it's a success and gratitude journal. Mm-hmm. And so I now start my day off not only focusing on the successes I've had, and let me be clear, it doesn't matter if your mindset's a small, medium, or large success. That's the mind putting labels. A success is a success is a success. Okay. Yes. So I'll write down the successes, but now that I put in gratitudes as well, what I'm grateful for, and who I'm grateful for, then all of a sudden I start, and it only takes 5 minutes in the morning. And all of a sudden now my day starts off so well that even if it's tough, even if I have a long day ahead of me, even if things haven't been going great, I still start off in a much better framework than if I started off going, oh, today's going to be crappy. I can't believe I'm doing this again.
Yeah.
Difference. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest.
Yeah, I love it. I have a gratitude journal practice in the morning, but I love the 5 successes, the little wins. I mean, and again, I shouldn't use the word little, but I'm all about celebrating even the small things, because baby steps, man.
If you want to mess with your mind, because your mind is meant to keep you where you are, same in your comfort zone. And so your mind doesn't want you to change. And especially if you're about to change and it notices, it's going to try and find a way to stop you. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways it does it is by going, no, if they do that and celebrate that as a big thing, they're going to change. Oh, I know how to make it. That's not a big deal. And all of a sudden your mind's whispering in your ear. So the smaller my mind makes a success, the more I actually celebrate it. I'm like, aha, nice job.
Yeah.
I made my bed.
Crack open the champagne. Yep.
That's right.
Yes. I love it. That is such good advice, Robert. Thank you. It's wonderful. Well, please tell my audience how they can find you, find your book, find you online, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know too. If any time you want to have me back and you want to dive into more of those questions, just ask.
Cool. I love it. Definitely. Sounds great.
Because you were so gracious to have me on your podcast, as a gift, what I'd love to do for your listeners is they can actually get the digital copy of my first book, Success Left a Clue, as a gift, just for taking their valuable time and being here and listening.
Yay.
And to do that, they just have to go to robertriopel.com, my name, RobertRiopel.com, and download it. Now, it does come with a caveat, though.
Okay.
See, I didn't write the book for people to read, then put on the shelf and make it shelf help. That's not what I wrote that thing. Write the book for. I actually wrote it as a workbook because of the 6 steps, step number 3 is taking action. So all the way through, I have action steps, and it'll actually say when you're reading a chapter, did you do the last chapter? If you haven't, stop reading right now. Go back and do that first, because people are creatures of habit. And so if you use it as a workbook, I guarantee you it's going to make a change in your life. And do not let the simplicity of the 6 steps fool you. I purposely kept it easy so that people don't get overwhelmed. But the mind will go, well, it can't be that easy. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it can. You have to put the work in, so maybe not easy, but it is simple if you do the action steps. So that's the greatest way to get a hold of the digital copy. And then on Facebook, just follow me on my fan page. And, I guess my assistant, I finally have an assistant now. She says I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. So you can find me there also.
Fantastic. Awesome. I will drop all of those links into the show notes to make it easy for everybody. And then if they go to your website, is the book just the downloadable version is there?
Yeah, they just give us their email address and they'll get access to the book.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What a generous gift. Thank you. And thank you again for taking the time to be here with me today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
I just wish we would have had a little more fun. It was so serious.
I know, right? Oh, so straight-laced and boring. No, it was an absolute blast. You are a joy. And I look forward to following you and seeing what you continue to add to the world. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I will talk to you very soon, Robert. Take care. Wow. Isn't Robert such a positive energy? I just felt like that was a feel-good episode and I could have just listened to him talk forever and ever. But I also felt like he was dropping value bombs all over you guys. So I hope you got some good takeaways from that too. Please subscribe if you have not yet done so. And if you would be so kind as to leave a quick review, I'd be super grateful. It helps me get found in the sea of other podcasts. It's just like a super huge help to me, and I will love you forever. Also come hang out with me at Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest at Your Creative Fairy Godmother. And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you all. I look forward to talking to you in the next episode.